Okay.
Sorry, too many jeans.
We were. I know. We were just talking business. Coming up in 20 minutes, we're going to be talking to Jean King, and she's doing a presentation next week at the library.
Yes, and so I was saying we have Jean King doing a presentation next week, and then we have Jean Baldwin doing a presentation in December.
It is so
and
human.
A lot of Jeans coming to the library for your listening pleasure.
If your name's Jean, you get 10%. No, I'm just...
Your name is Jean. Let me know if you want to do a presentation at the library.
That's one of the requirements.
Yeah.
For months, I've been waiting for this.
I know.
Lyman Trumbull.
Lyman Trumbull.
We should have a statue of this man in Alton.
You know, we probably should.
Thank you. I've been saying this for years.
You're welcome. And I normally don't believe in statues.
You don't? You aren't a statue person?
I feel like there are a lot of statues to people that shouldn't have statues, and there are a lot of people that should have statues that don't. And so I've mixed feelings on statues.
Gotcha. You know, same. You know, it's like, the Diggum frog, I don't feel like he needs a statue.
Well, I mean, I will say this too. It's like one person will have hundreds of statues when maybe they deserve one statue. And then there are always so many people who did so much who are never, ever going to get recognized in any major way. And so, there are a lot of people that I feel like I would love a statue of. And I feel like Lyman Trumbull would make the cut of people that it would be good to have a statue.
I keep petitioning for my own statue. I feel like I am not. I feel like I want to be one of the only people that get a statue that's not rich while they're still alive.
What's stopping you?
Money. I don't have the money to build the statue.
Literally.
And I tried to start the CJ Nasello Foundation. There was some drama with that. They realized it was all going to my credit card debt. But we'll now I'm going to get investigated for joking about that.
Statue. You're like, credit card debt now, statue later.
I started one of those last name foundations, so you just make all this money and don't really do a job. I'm in trouble today. Lyman Trumbull never did any of that.
No.
He was actually a great person.
He seemed to be a really great person.
So take me there. Lyman Trumbull, his house is on Henry, correct?
Yes. His house is at 1105 Henry Street. And
it has the American flag over it, I remember. And it has like a stairwell that goes up and doors that go in, kind of like the White House has.
It's got stairs up to the main door. There's a picture of it in the article. This picture is from Great Rivers and Routes, their website, because they have some information about it on there.
It's a beautiful home.
It's a very beautiful home.
Well, look at this. Open image in a new tab. So what did you find out about Lyman Trumbull and his efforts? Man.
You know, I've researched Lyman Trumbull.
That's his house.
There it is. Yeah. Off and on over the years. We have a really cool portrait and signature, like something that he wrote in the library on display at any, you can come see that at any time. And we've got it in the Lincoln display case right now. But he was an extremely, extremely prominent senator and politician in other ways too. But he was one of the only people that just he had an extremely long career, like 60 years. Yeah. And he changed parties like 5 times. He was so adamant about his beliefs about what was morally right and what our country should look like that he was totally unwilling to just go along with what his party was doing at any given time. So, I mean, I think that's kind of admirable that he was like, it's not that he was never willing to compromise, because you have to do that at some point. But at the same time, there were things that he was not willing to compromise on. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really important, because nowadays, I mean, hell, everyone thinks that like all these parties are so unified. They're screaming and fighting behind closed doors about their thoughts and their moral compass, but they're never going to change sides to say, you know what, I'm very rare that you see that happen anymore.
I mean, maybe it would be better if there was more flexibility in that.
Well, it would be, but the donors are not going to allow that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's way above what we can solve on this show.
I'm going to take them all on. I'm taking on the line.
With the CJ Nasello Foundation.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would lose in about 13 seconds. I don't think they'd even lift up a finger. I'd be like a gnat. They just flick out of the way, like, who's this guy? So, it's pretty significant that Alton produces 3 senators in the 19th century, and I think it showcases how big of an area Alton was and how important it was, too. It's kind of interesting.
Right. So the reason that I could write about this, and to be completely transparent, I looked for a way to write about Lyman Trumbull because CJ loves Lyman Trumbull.
It's true.
And so I searched for him 100 years ago to figure out how I could tie him in. And 100 years ago, the Joint Committee on Printing for the United States Senate sent out a letter to the postmaster, P.B. Cowsley in Alton, asking for information on the 3 men who had served in the Senate who were from this area. So they had information already, but they wanted to see, like if any living relatives were here,
Gotcha.
anybody that knew them had any more and could verify the information that they had. So the 3 men, and there wasn't a female senator from Illinois until 1992, and that was Carol Moseley Braun. So it was 3 men, and it was David Jewett Baker, James Semple, and Lyman Trumbull. And so they had a little bit about each of these men. And it was kind of interesting, too, because David Jewett Baker was only a senator for a month. He was appointed, I think, when someone died, served for a month. He wasn't eligible to be elected in. So it was truly just like it was always going to be a 1 month appointment.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then James Semple was appointed and then ended up being elected and served from 1843 to 1847. So still only a 4-year period.
Were these all concurrent with each other or no?
No. Okay. So let's see. David Jewett Baker was 1830. James Semple was 1843 to 1847. And then Lyman Trumbull was, because he did a whole bunch of things. When he was a senator, it was 1855 to 1873. So not at the same time.
Fascinating, though, to me is that Alton's founded in, 1855 or 1885?
Alton was incorporated
gotcha.
in 1837.
Okay.
It was founded it was platted in 1818. So that's when Rufus Easton came and put the streets, the grid of the streets and all of that stuff.
That's interesting. So technically, before it was official and incorporated, there were still senators from the area. Right? Technically?
Well, yeah, you're right. Yes.
That's fascinating.
It would have still been, let's see, when David Jewett Baker... You know what, though? I don't know if he lived here.
Gotcha. Okay.
When he became a senator, because I know he retired to Alton and died here and is buried here.
That makes sense.
So he died in 1869. So we would have been Alton at that point. But
fascinating.
But yeah, that's a good question, because Alton was. There were people living in Alton way before Alton became an official time. And it's like that with Godfrey, too. Godfrey only became an incorporated village in 92.
I'm making a prediction now.
What?
I'm going to get in trouble for this one, too, on the show. It will be Godfrey High School within the next 25 years.
Really?
I think so.
See, this is going to be getting
It's not. I know people are going to freak out that I just said that. I truly believe so.
I like having a unified school district between the two towns.
I think so. I think they're just going to take the name over because they're going to have more Godfrey residents than Alton in there.
Oh, you think it'll still be?
I think it'll still be the same thing.
So
I think the name's just going to change. I truly
change.
believe it. I have no doubt in my mind. I know it's one of those crazy things. I'm not saying I know the Powerball numbers, but I am at least putting $100 on that.
Well, I like it the way that it is. And we'll see what happens.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I could see it happening. So Baker was a U.S. District Attorney, correct?
Yes.
And now, was that before or after his Senate
That
run?
was after.
Okay. And do you think his being a team player and sitting there for the month helped out becoming because back then it was the good old boy system,
well, it
100%.
Sure was. Yeah. I'm sure that he was doing a favor when they needed to hold a...
You know what's fascinating is I'm sure it would probably not Trumbull. Maybe it was either him or Semple would have been a part of some of the bartering that was going on during some of these presidential ties. You know what I'm saying? Because during I forgot what election it was. Maybe it was Rutherford B. Hayes, but one of them was almost a dead tie, and Congress had to sort it out, and they had to do all these compromises to figure out who would be the president. And I don't know if that was how Quincy Adams I don't know how it was one of the early presidents, and I don't know if it would be during one of these 3 Senate, but there was a lot of crazy political things happening back then, like really wild things that have happened today. We'd be in a revolt.
Oh, it'd be insane.
Like immediately.
John Quincy Adams, though, he
is such a cool person.
I love him.
Me too. I think he's the coolest guy.
Yeah, same.
Well, and now I just thought it was kind of cool because one of them got appointed that way because it was just so dead even, and they did a vote and they decided, all right, let's just pick this guy and we all kind of can get along with him.
Right.
Interesting. So Trumbull, though, had a long and impactful career in law and politics.
Yes.
How did his work in the Senate shape the course of history for really the entire country?
Oh, man, huge. Because he was so he was in the Senate from 1855 to 1873, so almost 20 years. And before that, he had been a judge on the Illinois Supreme Court. He'd been the Secretary of State of Illinois. And during so he lived here from 1849 to 1863. So for a large chunk of the time that he was a senator. Yeah. I mean, so while the Civil War was going on,
he was here.
He was here.
Wow.
And he was a senator.
That's wild because you have the prison right down the road and all those. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So, well, and I guess he...
Wow.
Let's see, he lived here until he lived here until 1863, so right before all of that. But he was still a senator during the Civil War. So he lived up through the beginning of, things kind of going wrong. And then he wouldn't have been here during the Civil War living full time, but he was still a senator.
So what was his role? Before we talk about the role in the 13th Amendment, what are some of the other things that he was a part of? Because he was very vocal as a senator, too.
Yes, he was a huge supporter of labor rights. Wow. He was a huge supporter of civil rights.
That's interesting back then to have somebody really supportive of labor rights, because that wouldn't come in for another 50 years?
Yeah, I mean, let's see, I think the 1890s was when Labor Day became a thing. So he was an early supporter of Abraham Lincoln. So this is kind of what I was talking about before of the Lincoln-Douglas debate. So leading up to the Civil War, the Lincoln-Douglas debate was in October of 1858, and Lyman Trumbull, who was living here at the time, hosted a reception for Lincoln and visiting delegates at the Franklin House on State Street, which still exists. You can still go there, and I think there's a sign that talks about Lincoln. But so he was a staunch supporter of abolition, or at least not having slavery, and was very, very supportive of Lincoln in that debate, and when he was running for president, I think later, but they had some back and forth. Lyman Trumbull was actually more in favor of the abolition of slavery than even Lincoln was. That was one of the things that he was super, super adamant on, and sort of pushed Lincoln that way. So that's kind of cool too. And then after, during Reconstruction, he was very involved. And then he was part of the 13th Amendment. He helped draft the 13th Amendment, which took away slavery in the United States. Other than if you are being punished for, if you're in jail.
Gotcha.
It's not called slavery, but when you are forced to work without the compensation. Yeah. Yes. So 13th Amendment.
When was that?
Oh, God. 1864.
That's interesting.
So that abolished slavery, but it didn't fix all the problems. So then he was involved in the Civil Rights Act. So there was a Civil Rights Act in the 1860s as well. We think of civil rights
as Lyndon Johnson,
1965. Yeah. And that obviously was also a big time with civil rights in the United States. But right after the Civil War was also important, because we were dealing with states that didn't want to give any power to the people that had been enslaved.
Right.
So Civil Rights Act, the Freedmen's Bureau Act, which freedmen, the people that had been enslaved, making sure that they had rights, making sure that they had things that they needed. So he was just very, very involved in that, very respected, very so I did put it in the article, he and Lincoln didn't always see eye to eye. Also, their wives had been really, really good friends and then turned into frenemies later.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So there was a lot of drama.
Well, Mary Todd was a little bit of a different person because she had a lot going on.
She had a lot going on. And I don't remember all the details of it, but I do know Julia Trumbull, there was something that happened. And I think that maybe someone didn't support... Maybe Trumbull didn't support Lincoln in an election that Mary Todd felt like he should have, and so then she wouldn't be friends with his wife anymore. I don't remember all the details. I do very much remember, though, that even though Lincoln and Trumbull, they were very close, and then they still, even if they didn't see eye to eye, they still seemed to have a respect for each other. Like a Jefferson and Adams thing at the end, where they finally rekindled, or was it better than that? Well, I don't know. I feel like they both appreciated each other.
That's interesting.
Whereas their wives were
like kind of like
enemies by the end.
Okay, so he was a senator during the time he drafted this amendment, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that makes sense now.
Yes.
And so was he the lead writer on this, or was the lead drafter, or was he part of a team that kind of put this together?
Well, he was chairman.
Oh, so he was the head honcho.
Yeah, he was chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And so as his role as chairman, as part of his role as
makes
chairman,
sense.
he helped draft it. So I don't know that he was the one. I think it was him and a couple of other people, but I've also seen like he was the author of the 13th Amendment. So.
You know, I know that his house is a national landmark here and everything, but it just seems like when I was the only reason I learned of Lyman Trumbull was Carl Day in high school. Like that was the only person that ever taught me about it. Why do you think that we don't really talk more about Trumbull and his, because I feel like that's something we can all kind of get behind with pride, that, you know, this guy kind of was a worker bee that really did a lot, you know, that was pretty innovative.
Honestly, you know what? Your statue thing might be a big part of that, because we seem to need something to go to to talk about historical figures. So like with history class, like when elementary schools were doing the history field trip, you can go to Lincoln Douglas Square,
right,
and you can see the statues and you can talk about them. And you're right where they were, but it's a lot harder to just like
drive
show up.
Knock on the door and say, "Hey, I want to tour your house."
And from what I understand, the owners are very generous.
No, I'm not saying that.
But I don't think they want a bunch of third graders tromping through their house either. But yeah, I mean, I think that having, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting to me.
Yeah. I really do think a big part of it is that there's not. I guess you're right about the monument, because you go to the Lovejoy Monument, you talk about Lovejoy.
Yeah.
You go to the Lincoln Douglas statues, you talk about Lincoln and Douglas, but Lincoln.
We don't talk about Douglas.
We don't talk about Douglas. No.
Little tubby jerk.
Okay, I'm sure I've mentioned this before. Actually, I think I mentioned this on the very first show that I did with you. But my favorite thing from the Lincoln Douglas debate reenactment in 1990, early 1990s, when
it was 94.
C-SPAN did
it was a big thing.
It was a big thing. But Kerry Miller and I have talked about this because he portrayed Lyman Trumbull in that. And part of his job, too, was to get the audience to clap for Stephen Douglas, because they would have clapped for Stephen Douglas in 1858. But this was 1994, and everybody wanted to clap for Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So they like couldn't make that historically accurate because no one wanted to clap for Stephen Douglas.
We all know what happened.
We all know what happened.
Cheer for this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I feel like that should be like the Daily Show effort, is to get a statue of Lyman Trumbull. I'm going to try to make this happen. I'm going to call some people today and say, why do we not have a statue of a guy that helped draft the 13th Amendment, Civil Rights Act, and Freedom Bureaus Act? He was a labor and civil rights advocate for a working, industrial town. Didn't cater to one party.
No.
And, he supported Alton's favorite human, and that's Abraham Lincoln. Besides Wavell, I don't know.
Well, and you know what? I think it's, since he's not buried here.
Where's he buried?
He's buried in Chicago.
Why?
He lived in Chicago. That's where he died. He lived there after he got out of politics. So maybe that's part of the problem. He moved to Chicago.
I don't know if I want to do this statue.
Everybody around here is like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. But seriously, I mean, he was living in Alton from 1849 to 1863. But since he wasn't born here,
that makes sense.
And he didn't die here, I think that it's not as, I don't know, but I mean, it is super, his work is super important, and everything, like I printed out the Britannica article because I just wanted to make sure that I got like birth and death dates and everything right. And it's incredible. Like Britannica is not going to, be flowery about what his accomplishments were.
Right.
And even just reading, he pressed for making the emancipation of slaves a Northern War aim. Yep. And then, he helped draft the 13th Amendment.
Because Lincoln was really trying to be a mediator for a couple of years into this, right? Yeah. Or at least a year into it.
Yeah. And he advocated vigorous prosecution of the war and an early end to slavery. He he at first supported President Andrew Johnson after Lincoln was assassinated, but then broke with the president over Reconstruction policy. And I will tell you, like, one of my biggest, I'm devastated by the way that Reconstruction should have worked and didn't.
Yeah.
I think if other people had been in charge, we could have had a very different last 150 years if Reconstruction could have been done differently. So he supported radical Reconstruction, and then he voted to acquit Johnson of impeachment charges. So he was just kind of like always considering what was. It was like
How's Belleville taking claim to Lyman Trumbull as
Is
well?
Belleville taking claim? Do they have a statue?
They got a marker.
Well, we have a marker. I mean, in front of the house.
Yeah, but I want a statue.
Well, then Belleville, it's okay if more than one place takes claim. Like, he was a good guy.
I'm going to take claim with a statue. That's how I want to do it. I want a statue. There's no statue of him ever.
There's no statue?
No, I'm good. There's no statue.
I was wondering if maybe there is a statue somewhere.
We could be the change.
We could be the statue.
I'm kind of curious about it. It's like, man, out of all this stuff. That's interesting.
But yeah, I mean, truly, like, this was a man who was so clear in what he thought was morally right and what should be done. And I mean, it takes all kinds. Like, obviously Lincoln was having to think about the country as a whole and be the mediator. But I mean, I think it's very, very cool that Lyman Trumbull was pushing him to, and not that Lincoln wouldn't have gotten there on his own anyway, but who knows? Like, you gotta surround yourself. You gotta surround yourself by people that can help you with the right moral path.
Absolutely. Lacy, it's always good talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and talk with Gene King for a little bit, and then we're going to talk to David Wilcox, talk about Pat Robertson and televangelism and all that fun stuff today. Lacy, good article. I'm going to push for a statue for Lyman Trumbull. I'm going to put an op-ed out there.
All right.
All righty. 10:13, a quick break. We'll come back with more next. Accident.